Hey everyone, Sarah Brown-Wessling here from the Council of Chief State School Officers National Teacher of the Year program. And I'm excited to introduce Voices from the Classroom, the State Teacher of the Year podcast. CCSSO's National Teacher of the Year program provides a platform for exceptional educators to elevate issues that affect teachers and their students, to expand their leadership roles, and to inform policy and practice. I was named National Teacher of the Year in 2010, and since then, I've been committed to sharing the stories and elevating the voices of State Teachers of the Year. It is my hope that this podcast will give you insight into the incredible work they do. As we are very much aware, the 2020-2021 school year is so different from anything we could have imagined. Not only do the physical classroom environments look different for students, they feel different as educators navigate responding to two radical changes in our society: the COVID-19 pandemic and the heightened awareness of institutionalized racism. Through this first series, My First Lesson of the Year, we hope to capture the true essence of the return to school from an educator's perspective. In these episodes, the 2020 State Teachers of the Year will walk us through the ways they are approaching instruction and maintaining a connection with their students in this new environment. You can join the conversation on social media too, by using the hashtag NTOY20 or by visiting us online at ntoy.org. That's NTOY.org. Let's begin. This is Sarah Brown-Wessling. Welcome, Linda Rost, and thank you for joining me in this conversation today. So let's jump right in. Can you just introduce yourself? Tell us where you teach, what you teach.
Sure, I'm Linda Rost. I'm the 2020 Montana Teacher of the Year, and I teach in Baker, Montana. I teach high school science, biology, chemistry, science research, and anatomy and physiology.
Wonderful. That's a mouthful. That's a lot of different classes. You are one busy woman. So I'm really curious about one of the first lessons of the year, and I just would love for you to describe for all of us who are curious about what that's looked like for you.
Yeah, so I started out just over the summer reflecting on how, as a whole, we kind of had trouble with navigating science during this pandemic and navigating like critical literacy and science literacy. And so that's really what I wanted to focus my start of the year on. And so what I started students on is I had found some articles on different topics with COVID. So I found a media article and then the matching scientific study that the media article was written about. And so I started with having them analyze those two articles and see how they were different and see how the media article was written differently from the actual scientific study. And then after that, I actually had them rewrite the scientific study as if they were reporters. And they had to we learned about biased language and correlational and causational language and how to avoid causation language. And so they rewrote that article in a different way. And then we went into some other critical literacy stuff around COVID. And they also had the opportunity to design inquiry experiments about the pandemic. And so a lot of them were like mask experiments where they tested different types of masks in different ways.
Yeah.
And, they also looked at like different hand sanitizers and looked at microbiology of that. And so they were really able to understand why are we doing these things to keep safe and why are we having to wear masks and how do they work? And they got to test their own masks and really evaluate some of these new normals that we have to experience, like in their own terms. So that's how we start.
As a literacy teacher, I'm geeking out over here, listening to this framing of how you are asking students to really embrace the literacy portion of science, right? That it is, you're like looking at the whole big picture, what it means to be a scientist.
Right. And what it means to be a citizen in this space and how to engage in science just as a citizen, because all of us should be. We also looked at some data, so they had some opportunities to analyze data from different countries or from different states and ask their own questions and then determine how to analyze the data and come to conclusions so that when they're faced with data and when people are making claims on social media or in the news, they can actually like assess and analyze the data on their own and come to their own conclusions.
Right. That is so neat. That's really, really cool. Was this lesson different than how you usually start the year? I mean, I heard you kind of talk about your reflection process in the spring, so it sounds like it might have been a little bit different, but I'm just curious about, if this particular start of the school year is unique?
So I've been doing this article analysis for a few years with my sophomores, but we would just use like fun articles, like fun studies that were not super technical, that's something they could relate to. But I decided to shift that and go into just focusing on COVID.
Right.
And I've done data analysis before with them, and they do a lot of inquiry open-ended experiments, but never with this lens. And I think what I told them at the beginning of the year was their job this year is to help their family and community understand this pandemic, because there's a lot of misunderstandings. And so what I was trying to do, and I was really frank with them, I was trying to equip them with the skills they needed to be able to communicate to their family and community and keep our school doors open, because we're physically in person. And we needed them, they're on the front lines, we needed them to do the things to stay safe, and they needed to understand those things. So that was kind of
talk about relevance and purpose and authenticity, and I even hear in that just the communication. It's not necessarily part of the assignment, but it's part of the purpose, like not just to learn this for class, but learn this for the conversations you have in your life. I love that.
Make a difference in our world.
Yeah, I love that. So what did you learn from doing this? Did you learn anything about your students, about your teaching, about teaching in a pandemic?
I did some things like structurally, pedagogically different, where they're all working, like collaborating on a Google slide together. We're doing a lot of that more, and that's been really good. So I've learned some like little things like that I should have been doing all along. But I think I learned, and I sort of knew this, but I didn't really put it into practice. I learned that my students are really important members of our community, and that their voice can make a difference more than mine. And they can also sort of be like the feet, like they can go out and talk to their community and talk to their families more effectively than I can. So they're actually teaching our community science.
Yeah.
And it's exponential, it's contagious.
Right.
And they're engaging community members. And I don't think I realized the importance of that before, and that they can be really effective. And it kind of sounds dorky when I'm telling them this and when I'm giving them this charge, but they really own it. Like they really latch on to the fact that their job now is to help other people, and they know that they are better scientists. They know scientists better than most people in this country right now. And so that's kind of their
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
well, you've set them up with that. Yeah. Well, but you've set them up with this confidence and this purpose, and it's just really, really cool. Really, really neat. So thank you so much for sharing, your insights and your expertise. We are really looking forward to sharing this with teachers. And I know it's going to inspire a lot of people as well. So thanks, Linda.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the first series of Voices from the Classroom, the State Teacher of the Year podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Council of Chief State School Officers National Teacher of the Year program. It's our honor to elevate the voices of educators across the country and provide them with a national platform to amplify their message and advocate on behalf of their students and colleagues. Please share these lessons on social media with the hashtag NTOY20. That's hashtag NTOY20. Let's keep the conversation going.